We come together this morning to remind each other to rest for just a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we can claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking time to look into one another's faces and to see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, of memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence here together and our presence of folks who are joining us online. People at home are invited to light your chalice as we light ours, and Linda does our UCH covenant.
The members and friends of Unitarian Church of Hinsdale promise each other to listen and learn together with compassion, curiosity, and an open mind. Stay engaged and participate to create a warm, welcoming, and financially healthy church community. Work together and beyond our walls to address social and environmental challenges and support our church and its mission with time, talent, and treasure.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Hinsdale. My name is Pam Rumancik. My pronouns are she and theirs, and I'm so grateful to serve this wonderful community. Each of us brings so many different perspectives, lenses, and identities to this world, and all that you bring are welcome to join us as we share in upholding the worth and dignity of every single person. Thank you now for putting your gadgets in worship mode so they're not beeping or buzzing or ringing during the service. Childcare is always available in our religious education building across the lane, down the steps, and the third door on the left. And after the first of the year, we'll start doing our children's story, our story for all ages, because it's for everybody. And our kids hopefully will start being able to join us in the sanctuary. This Friday, December 17th, is going to be our annual Winter Solstice Observance. The Dvorak family is leading it, and it will be both here in the sanctuary and on Zoom. So there will be a Zoom link on the website, and there will be in news and notes. You can watch for that. And next week is going to be our annual No Rehearse pageant, which is always a great deal of fun. This year we're revisiting Merry Grinchmas and the story of the Grinch who stole Christmas. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little grinchy these days, so maybe I do need a reminder of what the true meaning of Christmas is. You're invited to wear your jammies or your favorite Who costume because it's a time when everybody just has a lot of fun. We say thank you this morning to Linda Rio, who's serving as our worship associate. A special thank you to Lenny Edgin, who is going to offer a part of our service. And then always thank you to Jamie and his amazing music. We're also saying thank you to our choir members who are meeting after church today to record some of the music for the next couple weeks. So thank you for putting that extra work in, Julia, and all the choir members. This afternoon, sadly, I'm going to be officiating a memorial for Michelle Hansen, who died suddenly last week. She's been a member of the church for quite some time. It's going to be at the Modell Funeral Home in Darien at 1 o'clock. Visitation will follow the service. We extend our sympathies to Michelle's family and friends. And then details for everything that you might have noticed on the announcements that were going by when you came in this morning are either in our news and notes weekly email or on our website. So go ahead and look up anything that you need to know because there's more details there. If you are not receiving those, you can sign up at the desk at the back of the sanctuary to receive our publications. If you're online, you can go on the website. At the top, there's a contact. You can hit the contact button and fill that in, and then you'll be added. There we go. And one more, just a quick reminder, we have a QR code in the back. If you hit that with your phone, you get our whole order of service in there. And since we respond to feedback, we didn't have the words to all the things that we say together, so now the words to all the things will be in there. So if that would be helpful to have those on your phone, you can go get that. Continuing to live stream our services, thanks to Suzanne and Jean and Alex for making all of this available. Now, there's a whole bunch more going on these days so make sure you stay informed and don't miss anything cool that's going on. We begin our time this morning with open hearts and minds. We listen for the wisdom of spirit. We pay attention to feel that joy of connection. And we rest in the comfort of a faith home that invites us to step into our whole and holy selves. Let our worship now begin. I think we're going to start with a story first, though, and then music.
There's no escape from the wheel of life. There's no escape from suffering. Listen to me, Siddhartha. I am Mara, Lord of Hell. I know what I'm talking about. But I've got to admire your determination. You've been sitting there for weeks, hoping that a solution to life's problems will drop into your lap like a ripe fig. Give up now and save yourself the effort. Wiser men than you have tried and failed to find an answer. And you will fail too, Siddhartha. And so the wheel turns. And yet it all looked so promising at the start. Born on the full moon of May, Prince Siddhartha Gautama. Asita the seer prophesied that you would grow up to be a great leader, either a king or holy man. Of course, your father wanted you to be a king and reign after his death, not become some wandering fortune teller. So he decreed that you should live in luxury and never see the world of pain outside the palace, and so never see the need for religion. And so the wheel turns. Silk and honeysuckle, sarangis and spice. Every sense was sated, but you still weren't satisfied. All you could do is ask questions. What is life? Why are we here? Is this all there is? And then one day, you asked, what lies beyond the palace walls? For the first time, you went out into the city, riding in a gilded carriage. But you wanted to see the city by yourself, so you escaped into the maze of alleyways. And you were horrified by what you saw. An old woman, wrinkled, toothless and crooked. A man eaten up by disease, suffering, sweating and covered in boils. Then, by the banks of a river, a funeral procession. The dead body was carried to the water's edge and laid gently on a pile of wood. The family trailed behind, crying and wailing in their grief. You stayed until the pyre was lit and watched as oily black smoke billowed to the sky. It was the end of your innocence. There is no point to life. All that happens is that you get old, get ill, and die. But on the way back to the palace, a holy man was sitting serenely at the side of the road, begging for alms. He had nothing, but he seemed at peace. Here, you thought, must be the answer. And so the wheel turns. You left the palace in the dead of night and rode to the far reaches of the kingdom. You exchanged your robes for rags, and in a forest you found a group of 5 holy men. They were naked and dirty, unkempt and scrawny. They said that by making their bodies suffer, their spirits could be free. So you joined them and starved yourself until you were nothing but skull and sinew, yet still there were no answers. And so the wheel turns. A young woman came to give an offering to the forest gods and thought she'd found a tree spirit. You took her food and ate your fill. You gave up a life of comfort and you gave up a life of suffering. But neither pleasure nor pain will give you the answer. And so the wheel turns through birth, youth, and to this moment. It will turn on through old age, illness, and death. It will turn on through all your lives beyond, over and over again, in a never-ending and meaningless cycle. And you will learn nothing. Experience will not give you the answer. So how long are you going to sit here? It's been 49 days. It's full moon again and the morning star is rising once more. What's this? A new idea forming? What's this fleeting thought I cannot grasp? It's there on the edge of your consciousness, but getting closer. Show me. A middle way? What's that? You say life can never satisfy us because we always want more. You say the only way to achieve peace is to stop wanting. You say the answer is to sit at the centre of a wheel, detached from the world that revolves around you. Only then can a person achieve peace. Brave words, Siddhartha, but they are wasted. There is no one here to behold your enlightenment. No, the earth itself is his witness. She conspires with Siddhartha to reject me. He has awoken. He is enlightened. He is the Buddha.
Today's service is in honor of Bodhi Day, which was December 8th. And so here's a hymn to begin our service. Come to the time in our service when we say thank you. Take a moment of gratitude to look around and be grateful for those blessings that we have in our own lives and for the people around us in this congregation. We have people nominating each other each week, and this week the entire Dvorak family was nominated. Tim for using his amazing talents to oversee everything that goes on in our kitchen and in offering advice and management. Here's the quote: Tim Dvorak for his endless work in the kitchen during coffee hour when no one shows up to do it, and at all of our functions. And then Paula for serving on our worship team, for being lead on our auction events, for always showing up and having a positive attitude and a willing spirit, and just being a support in so many ways to this community. Thanks to Ben. He's the one that taught me how to make coffee down in the kitchen. He's always helpful. They've been helpful since he was like this big. And then finally, thanks to Alex, who is an integral part of making sure we have technology running. So thanks, Dvorak. So keep thinking about people that you would like to nominate and send their names on into me, and we'll say thank you on a Sunday morning. Are there any gratitudes this morning that would like to be spoken aloud? Anything that's resting on your heart you'd like to share? Grateful for the sunshine. Oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
want to thank the Lenny Trust for bringing us some beautiful flowers for our coffee hour.
Oh, thanks to Wintrust for giving us coffee hour flowers. Yay. Yes.
I'd just like to thank Charlie for wrangling folks to take care of our ground. Charlie's always there. Charlie Fisher is always there to help us make sure that area surrounding our church is nice.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie, and thanks everybody who helped. Yes. Okay. Out of this place of gratitude and fullness, we bring our gifts to the church community every week. We work together to make the church just a little bit better. And on the second Sunday of every month, we share our entire collection with some outside group. So this Sunday, it's going to be DuPage pads. In the past years, we have worked together as a community and served food to the folks who are in the homeless families and people that are in the pads. But since the pandemic, that's not been possible. So here we have April Rumancik, who's the president and CEO of DuPage pads, to tell us about their work.
Hello to all of our friends at the Unitarian Church of Hinsdale. I'm April Rumancik, president and CEO of DuPage pads. On behalf of our staff, our board, and most importantly our clients, I'd like to extend to you our good wishes this holiday season. As we enter into the holidays, I'm always so grateful for the opportunity to reach out to folks like you and thank you for your support. I know you've been delivering meals to our guests at the Naperville Red Roof Inn, which has been a wonderful thing for those in our care. For our clients, it's a lot easier to face what comes next with your support and a full stomach. For many of our clients, the food and support you bring is a first step to not only help, but also to trust. When you bring a meal, you're bringing both of those things. I'm happy to report there are so many people whose lives have been made better by your help. There is a mom with her teenage daughter who's been staying with us at the Red Roof Inn, where you go visit and bring meals. Just last week, she came to our office to get help with their security deposit because after months of being with us during COVID, they finally had enough to sustain themselves in an apartment, and they'd found an apartment they could afford. However, in their circumstances, they were coming to us because they had to get to the landlord by 1:30 or the apartment was going to go to someone else. So Karen Obman, our VP of Finance, raced up. She cut the check. I signed it. When we ran it out to them, both the mother and her daughter started to cry. The mom told me, I was so worried I'd never have a home again. And now she did. So we shared our excitement, and then we sent them on our way because we didn't want her to miss her appointment. And now she's going to have a home of her own in an apartment in Glen Ellen. Both she and her daughter are going to be settled in their own place and time for the holidays. We also have a mom with 2 4-month-olds and a toddler who are staying in hotel-based shelter with us. They were fleeing domestic violence and needed a safe room of their own. For that mother's silent night has a meaning that most of us will never understand. There are 250 stories right now of people like these. 250. That's about how many people we have in shelter right now. And that's 100 more than the 150 we would see at the height of winter during pre-pandemic times. Our team at DuPage pads continues to live the value that everyone should have a safe place to call home, and no child should have to sleep in a car. Through our work, and through your work. So thank you for standing with us and helping us to make that possible. We are very excited about our future. You may have seen us in the news over the last couple of days. That's because we had a big announcement. We're announcing that in the spring of 2022, that's going to mark the opening of our new Interim Housing Center, which is a place where families and individuals can check into a safe room of their own, modeled after what we've been doing in hotel-based shelter that you have been a part of making possible. We'll have a 130-room repurposed hotel, which will bring warm beds and COVID-safe rooms to those who are suffering from homelessness. As you have been a friend to our guests for so long, we hope you'll be part of this next monumental steps. In the next few months, we'll have opportunities for faith communities like yours to sign up for host nights and other ways you can volunteer and help. I hope you'll continue bringing meals and be part of what we're doing moving forward. We can't wait to connect with you more to share our plans as they progress. And between now and then, to learn more about our work, please visit dupagepads.org. We'll be posting things there regularly so you know what's going on, and we can share all of our exciting news with you. In the meantime, on behalf of those we're serving, thank you so much for your friendship, for your generosity, and for your prayers. On behalf of those we're serving, I ask you to continue to support our work And however you celebrate, I wish you the very happiest of holidays. Take care.
Yeah, it's very worthwhile work. We aren't able to help them. Mary has taken a few people each time they've gone to deliver food, but it's not a community-wide event at this time being. But you can support them with your dollars. So everything that's collected today will go to support DuPage Pads. And if you want to do it later in the month, you can always go to the website and go to the donate page and write in Social Justice December, and everything you go will go to that worthy cause. If you have a check today that needs to go towards your pledge, just make sure you write UCH pledge on your memo line of your check or on the envelope. Our offering will now be gratefully received. I invite you to join me in saying our offering words. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, the people around us, and with all the world. Thank you so much for your generosity. We can now invite Linda to go up and do our first reading. There is a story of a woman running away from tigers. She runs and runs, and the tigers are getting closer and closer. When she comes to the edge of a cliff, she sees some vines there, so she climbs down and holds onto the vines. Looking down, she sees that there are tigers below her as well. Then she notices that a mouse is gnawing away at the vine to which she is clinging. She also sees a beautiful little bunch of strawberries close to her, growing out of a clump of grass. She looks up and she looks down. She looks at the mouse. Then she takes a strawberry, puts it in her mouth, and enjoys it thoroughly. Tigers above, tigers below. This is actually the predicament that we're always in terms of our birth and our death. Each moment is just what it is. It might be the only moment of our life. It might be the only strawberry we'll ever eat. We could get depressed about it, or we could finally appreciate it and delight in the preciousness of every single moment of life. Thus ends the reading. I invite you now into a moment of stillness. Put your feet on the ground. Take a deep, slow breath in. Relaxing breath out, allowing any tension that's in your body to drop down, 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 down into the rich earth below us. Listen for just a few moments to the stillness of your heart. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves, towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cost of suffering to each other. With humility and awareness of the existence of life, awareness of all the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Amen. We have many intentions to hold up this morning for your good thoughts and will. We start with Kathy Blanford, whose sister, Marilyn Juliot, died Saturday morning. Kathy is with her family, but says she feels like her heart is broken, so we send her lots of love. It was totally unexpected for her family. Harriet Goff, who's going to be undergoing a medical procedure this week, we send her love and strength and healing. For Peter Crower, who just had a pacemaker installed, that he might heal back to his full health. For Joanne Crower, who is undergoing another round of chemo. For the family of Michelle Hansen. And then topically, for all the victims and families suffering from the devastation of the tornadoes this past Friday evening. And for all throughout the entire world who are already suffering the extended consequences of a changing climate. That's a lot of sadness to hold. And so I will remind you that we have a grief cairn in the back of the church. And if you feel like your grief is overwhelming you, you can pick up a stone, hold that grief, and then put it into the vessel as a way of releasing and not carrying it with you at all times. If something has arisen on your heart this morning, either joy that is dancing or sorrow that is weighing, you're invited to come up now and light a candle. You can tell us if you want to share.
Good morning. Kathy Blanford asked me to light a candle this morning for her sister Marilyn, who passed away yesterday. It's going to be a tough time for Kathy because she was very close with her sister. I also wanted to light a candle for Michelle Hansen. I was pretty much in a state of shock last Sunday when Reverend Pam announced that she was in hospice, and then later on that day, we found out that she had passed away. I didn't know Michelle well, but prior to COVID, I was in a small group with her, and she just made these amazing, insightful contributions. You just knew she had a beautiful spirit. And I thought at that time how much I would really like to get to know her. And I saw her a couple times after the group. But then COVID hit, and we didn't have any more church services. Michelle was only 56 years old, and she only learned of her cancer a week before she passed away. So I'll be going to this service. I'm so happy that Pam will be doing the service today. And she has two beautiful daughters. They must too be in a state of shock. So rest in peace to Marilyn and to Michelle.
We light our 3 final candles, one for any intentions that are too tender to be spoken aloud this morning. You are in our hearts. One for our planet, for all that we can do to tell her we love her, for our leaders that they might remember and realize where we live. And then finally, for this church that walks with us in our sorrow and in our joy and helps to have our sorrows and double our joys. Our second reading is The Faith of a Unitarian Universalist Buddhist by James Ishmael Ford. I've been a Buddhist for more than 30 years. I've also been a Unitarian Universalist for more than 15 years. While looking for a community, I attended the local UU church. During the coffee hour following the service, the members introduced themselves to me and we talked. Eventually, one of them asked what brought me to their church. I said that I was a Buddhist, although I had a great respect for the Christianity of my childhood, and that I was looking for a spiritual home that would allow my continuing quest. When I asked what I meant by Buddhism, I briefly outlined my belief that the human condition is marked by disease, dissatisfaction, and angst. There is some fundamental sadness to our human condition. The Buddha examines this apparently universal human experience closely. He came to believe this pervasive unrest occurs as a natural consequence of human consciousness. Our way of engaging with the world has a peculiar side effect. We fall in love with the world that is created by our own perceptions. We desperately want that world to be complete, permanent, and real. But as the Buddha observed, our grasping after permanency for ourselves or our loved ones is doomed. The universe and everything in it, including you and me, are in flux.
And what each of us perceives as me is actually a composite of many consequences. They will fall apart at some point to reshape in new ways. Change is the rule. Nothing is exempt. The Buddha asserted that as we cling to what is passing as if it's permanent, we find that pervasive angst, the terrible sadness that seems to live within our human hearts. But there is good news. We don't have to suffer this way. The Buddha outlined a middle way to insight and peace. As I spoke to those UUs so many years ago, one said, "Except for meditation, what you describe sounds like a Unitarian Universalist perspective." Blending of Buddhism with Unitarian Universalism began with 19th century transcendentalists like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. Unitarian Elizabeth Palmer Peabody translated the first Buddhist texts into English. Buddhist reflections about the nature of the world have continued in Unitarian Universalism and have become especially dynamic in recent years. We Western Buddhists also come bringing gifts. Probably the greatest gift we bring to Unitarian Universalism is meditation. There are a host of practices that might be useful to UUs. Each is a variation of the original disciplines taught by the Buddha and his immediate followers. Each has to do with simple and plain attention. Out of this paying attention, their attention, just noticing, generations of people have found a way through the traps of our dividing consciousness to see that we share a common ground of being. We all belong to the same family. We have a single name, and that name is the Great Silence. Some call it sunyata, emptiness. As with all faith traditions encompassed in Unitarian Universalism, it's impossible to describe Unitarian Universalism Buddhism in any one perspective. Even as I am transformed by my life as a Unitarian Universalist, I am beginning to see the ways in which Unitarian Universalism is transformed by our Buddhist presence. Thus ends the reading.
I'd like to invite Lenny Edgin to come up. He leads our meditation group on Monday evenings. And come on up, Len. And I'm very grateful. I asked him if he would give us his perspective on Buddhism this morning. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lenny Edgin. I facilitate our Buddhist mindful meditation meetings. We meet Monday nights for the time being on Zoom. You can find the link at our website, Unitarian Church of Hinsdale's website, in the calendar. So you can see me after the church service downstairs at coffee hour if you have any other questions or need any other information about our meeting. Reverend Pam asked me to talk about similarities in Unitarian Universalism and Buddhism. And like the reading Linda just read, it's almost impossible to do it succinctly. So what I decided to do was focus on what they refer to in Buddhism as the three jewels, which are Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, which I believe also show up in Unitarian Universalism, and I'll explain how in a moment. Jewels are things which are held precious, which have a great deal of value, which we feel are very important. Also, these are referred to as refuges. And a refuge is a place of safety, a place we go during hard times, which we can feel shelter from the storm. First is Buddha. Buddha does not only refer to the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, it also refers to a concept known in Buddhist circles as Dharma nature, or Buddha nature. Sort of this seed inside every one of us that has the ability to grow into enlightenment. I read that is that we all have something in common, a core base essence that is the same in all of us. Our first principle of Unitarian Universalism is that we recognize and respect the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Inherent means existing in someone as a permanent and inseparable quality. So this dignity and worth that is in each of us, a permanent and inseparable quality, can also be seen as our Buddha nature. Acknowledging that we all share this same inner being also speaks to our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. In Buddhism, this comes through in the concept of non-self. Well, this doesn't mean that I don't exist. I'm standing right here. I totally exist. Rather, it means that I couldn't exist without everything else. We are part of an interdependent web of existence. The second jewel or refuge is Dharma. There are those that hold strictly to the opinion that Dharma only refers to the teachings of the Buddha himself. There are others that teach that Dharma refers to any Buddhist teachings. You will often hear of Dharma talks given by Buddhist teachers, talks that focus on some aspect of Buddhism. But there are others, like myself, who think of Dharma as any source of spiritual learning. So the teachings of the Buddha certainly qualify as Dharma, but so does the Bible. So does the Bhagavad Gita, so does the Quran. In fact, I believe that the writings of philosophers and scientists qualify as Dharma. I believe everything, if looked upon as an opportunity to learn about our spiritual nature, can be seen as Dharma. In Unitarian Universalism, we have the 6 sources which can all be viewed as Dharma. As you can see, Buddhism, like Unitarian Universalism, leaves a lot of room for spiritual exploration and experimentation. A space for each of us to grow and with many paths to take. Our third UU principle is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. The fourth principle is a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Both of these, in my opinion, speak to the importance of Dharma in Unitarian Universalism. They also lead me to the third and perhaps most important of the 3 jewels, Sangha. Traditionally, Sangha is believed to refer to the community at large. Other teachings suggest it is the realm of the monastics or clergy. In modern Buddhism, it is suggested that Sangha refers to any group of Buddhists. I went to a UU Buddhist retreat, and the speaker there said that Sangha is any spiritual group that is searching for truth together. Remember our fourth principle about free and responsible search for truth, and our third principle of acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Acceptance and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations means that I am not only accepting of your atheist, pagan, Wiccan, or Christian beliefs here, but I encourage you to grow them here in this church with all of our help. That is Sangha. Ananda, who is Buddha's right-hand man, said to the Buddha, "This is half of the holy life. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, and admirable camaraderie." Buddha replied, "Do not say that, Ananda. Admirable friendship, admirable companionship, and admirable camaraderie is actually the whole of the holy life. When a monk has admirable people as friends, companions, and comrades, he can be expected to develop and pursue the Noble Eightfold Path, which in Buddhism is the path to enlightenment. Can also be thought of as the path to spiritual truth." I read that as Buddha saying Sangha is the most important of the 3 refuges. Look around you. See those admirable people on the spiritual journey with you? Welcome to your UU Sangha.
Thanks so much, Lenny. I could just stop right there, right? That was great. 2,500 years ago, Siddhartha Gautama was distressed when he looked outside his castle and was confronted with the suffering in the world. He'd been protected from that harshness by a well-meaning father and was unprepared to deal with what he finally saw life to be for what it was. When the veil fell away, it wasn't pretty. I kind of feel like that in my own life sometimes right now. The veil keeps being torn back again and again and again for so much of our country. The more I learn about misogyny and racism and vaccine deniers and campaigns to disenfranchise voters, the more I realize that the idea that I had of the world for a long time was not the whole of it. Many things for me have shifted. When the world shifted for Siddhartha, his first response was to reject the world he had grown up in and embrace asceticism. In wanting to understand the nature of suffering, he chose to embrace a path that rejected all the worldly riches and live as a hermit. But by cutting himself off from the pleasures of the world, it did not bring him any relief. He just ended up being hungry as well as confused. I can relate. Not to the hungry part. I eat way too much. But next he decided he was going to sit under the Bodhi tree until he figured it out. We are told that he became the Buddha, the enlightened one. But what does that actually mean? What was the huge insight that he had? People can spend their whole lives studying Buddhism and not have that aha moment that Siddhartha described. My Cliff Note versions of Buddhism is that we each have to find our own Bodhi tree. When he was sitting there, he found 4 noble truths under that tree. He said that all life is suffering, and that suffering happens because we want more. It comes from desire. And if you can stop that desire for something more, that you can end desire by following the eightfold path. Essentially, the reason we are unhappy is that we want something other than what we have. And we keep thinking that if we get that next thing, if we get the degree, or we get the job, or we get that new car, or the house, the perfect house, or the spouse that we've been trying to woo for so long, or a award, or maybe just your new Game Boy, any of those things. If we get that one new thing, then we're going to be happy. I mean, isn't that what all our Christmas commercials are trying to pound into us right now? If you get the big screen TV, then everything's going to be all better. But it's a really false narrative, because each of those things might bring us a few moments of pleasure. Of course they do. It's fun. But then we're going to fall right back into that same old pattern of wanting more. The Buddha said that all life is an illusion. We have everything we need to be at peace right now. This moment contains the entirety of everything we ever need to know. Right now, I want responsible, sane leaders who respect the planet and will make choices based on what's right, not what's convenient or what's going to make more money for somebody. And wanting that makes me very frustrated and angry. In the Buddhist approach, we don't stop living the way we want to live with the world. We do bring our own best selves to the world by surrounding ourselves with other people. As Lenny said, our Sangha are people that are trying to live good, relationful lives. But we do accept this present moment as where we are in this moment, and we work from there. That's clear as mud, isn't it? That's why people spend all their lives studying Buddhism. But if we go back to the story that Linda first read about the tigers above us, the tigers below us, they're really real. Climate change, a failing democracy, a pandemic that never seems to end, among so many other things that we could each name personally in our own lives. And there is that little mouse gnawing at our safety vine. I think of that as our mortality, knowing at some point it's going to be over. But in the midst of all of that, there are still strawberries. We can still taste and see, experience and savor the goodness of life, even in the midst of all of the threats and impending disasters. I saw a headline saying that there's an asteroid heading for the Earth next week that might come closer than we like. It's just like, what an interesting thought. What if we knew that next week was it? How would that change how we acted today? How would that change how we responded to the people around us? This is where the practice comes in. Because it doesn't do any good to just stay in your head. Because if you're in your head clinging to that vine, your brain is screaming, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die. You have to get out of your head. You have to get into your body. You have to get into that deeper knowing that each of us carries within us, that Buddha self, that Buddha nature. Because when you can drop into that place, then you can open your eyes and see those delicious strawberries. The goal is not to fix life, because oftentimes it is not fixable. The goal is to be present, to enjoy the life that you have, to enjoy the moments as they present themselves, to feel the pain that is very real when we lose somebody we love. But to know that pain just like the joy is a continuing movement that will continue to move on through our lives. And in order to be able to be in that place of our body, you have to do a practice regularly, every day if you can. You have to practice and incorporate that being present to this moment, into your eating, into your sleeping, into your breathing, into that living into that understanding of the impermanence of everything and our infinite nature in the midst of that impermanence. As with everything that's really important in life, it's not knowing, but living, which creates a whole and sustainable life. Poet and writer Amy Dillard reminds us how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. What we do with this hour and that one is what we're doing. When I find myself being way too busy and thinking next week's going to be easier, I have to go, stop. If I want to be present in my life, I have to be present right now. Because next week will never, ever come. This is where meditation and mindfulness comes in. If you do a practice every day of dropping into that knowing in your body, it makes it so much easier to drop into that space when life gets really hard and challenging. When those tigers are right on your heels, or when the little mouse, you're getting a thread in your vine. The world might be crazy making out there, but in this moment is peace and connection and the ability to shut down those fight or flight responses and stress levels that make life feel so hard and untenable some days. To stop being a human doing and become a human being. Saguro, a revered teacher, says that the word Buddha means above the mind. Above the mind, there's peace and the ability to live with the world as it is. He says that living in the mind, which most of us do, is the cause of all of our suffering. That's hard for us we like to think about things. And I don't want to believe that the way I think about things is what makes me suffer. But it's so easy to see it because I have examples in my own life. When I'm attached to what time my daughter is going to arrive at my house, and she's getting later and later and later, I get anxious and worried, and if she's an hour and a half late, and start getting mad. But experience has shown me that my daughter is almost always late. And if I just accept that she's going to arrive at some point, we are both much happier. I think there's so many other places like that in my life. If I can let go of what I think should happen, and I'm just present to what is, you can let go of that pain and that suffering in so many places. So this morning, I invite you to find that thing which helps ground you. Maybe it's knitting. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's woodworking or painting or jazzercise, any of those things. Whatever works for you to shut down that chattering monkey mind that's saying, look at the tigers, look at the tigers, look at the tigers. Let go of that voice. Open your eyes. Do it regularly. Do it over and over again until you can drop those tigers in a second. And then when you get them under control, stay present to the world in front of you and the ways that you can interact with the people in your Sangha, with the people that you love, with this beautiful and amazing world as it is today, on this Sunday morning in Illinois. No life runs smoothly from beginning to end. And if we rely on the outside, we will never find peace of mind or peace of body. But if we practice, if we ground ourselves, if we live in this body, we will be awake and aware to taste the beautiful fruits of this world, to pick them and enjoy the amazing sweetness they have to offer. Amen and blessed be. This next song that Jamie's going to play was written by John Coltrane after he meditated which is why we thought this was a lovely offering for today.
I would invite all of you to approach what I'm about to play a little differently. Try not to think of the musician playing the notes on the piano, and try to use this piece I'm going to play now as a space to go to, mindful place where you can find your own thoughts. There was one other point I'd like to make. Coltrane, who was, before A Love Supreme, known for playing a lot of notes. Even though A Love Supreme is 45 minutes long, and I'm not going to play that long. What it's based on is a 5-note motif. And everything comes from that. Coltrane is saying to us, less can be more, way more.
And invite you to extinguish your chalice at home. We have our hymn, closing hymn. our chalice as Linda leads our words.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world.
Our closing words are from the Bodhisattva Vows, adapted. May all sentient beings be well and enjoy the root of happiness, free from suffering and the root of suffering. May they not be separated from the joy beyond sorrow. May they dwell in spacious equanimity, free from craving, fear, and ignorance. I have no idea what that sound is. Our final music from Jamie. So beautiful. Thank you. Just a reminder, you're welcome to stay for coffee hour, but leave your masks on and just lift up, take a sip, put it back down.